$100 challenge with US releases for the Sega Master System. As you can kind of see, the first one is Outrun, not necessarily a racing game, which is I think how we all think of it, but the creator thought of it more of as a driving simulator. But it's a really fun game. It's a nice take on the arcade. Definitely not the best take on the arcade. There's been some more recent ones, the Saturn and Xbox that did a better job of bringing home the arcade experience. But it's a nice game. It's tough. Lots of fun to be had here though. Great music. Has FM sound, so if you're able to play it with the FM sound, great. And it clocks in loose at $16.27. Next up is Shanghai. Now this is a kind of Mahjong, and this is one that I was really surprised about how much I enjoyed. Just sitting there, you know, trying to match the tiles, getting them all off the board. But it's a nice, calm, fun, relaxing game. Yeah, it's tough to win, but it's doable. And you can undo moves and do the whole thing all over again. And there's computer assistance. There's not a ton of music to choose from. This is another one that has FM sound. And it's just a good game. And it clocks in at $8.16 loose. Next up is Rocky. Based on the Rocky series, you fight Apollo, Clubber Lang, and Drago. You have some trainings to do before each bout. You can skip them if you want. One of them is really necessary, but and at first I did not like this game. I thought I had no control over the character. It didn't make any sense to me, and I went through the manual. I was like, no, it doesn't matter which way I'm pushing or anything. But you do have control over Rocky. But he does like to move on his own as well. You know, he's got a stick and move. So, but it's a fun game. The trainings are okay. I always use turbo. It's just I'd like to save my arms because just having to mash the buttons, and you got to get them in perfect tune for the punching bag, for the speed bag, and then just hitting the gloves. But it's a fun game. He clocks in at $11.50 loose. Next up is Enduro Racer. You're riding on a motorcycle, kind of a different take on Excite Bike. It's like a 3/4 overhead view of the track, which isn't exactly a track because basically it's just riding along on these courses. And when you get to jump, you have to pull back and then let go at the right time, and you keep your speed. If you don't, you slow down. When you hit the ground, you start to like just chug. But it's a fun little game. Once you get the hang of it, you get the hang of the upgrade system. For every vehicle you pass, you get points. You can then take those points and upgrade your handling, your acceleration, your top speed. So, fun little game. Spend your points wisely and have fun with it. Enduro Racer clocks in at $15.81. Next up is Koniden. You're a samurai warrior trying to regain the sword of the Dragon King. There's multiple routes that you can take in this. There's trainings that you can do to help to improve your skills, and you get abilities as you defeat bosses. It's a fun, straightforward game. I think once you learn the route, you learn how to defeat the different enemies and the bosses. Really fun. You're into speedrunning, or just even want to halfway learn the speedrun route, the game can be beat within 15 minutes or less, and that's not going hardcore. But it's just a fun little side scroller. Jump, stab, dodge. Training levels are interesting because you just walk along, there's a bunch of arrows getting shot at you, and you gotta, if you get hit once, you go back to the beginning of that training. And Koniden clocks in at $23.99, most expensive on the list, but it's a really fun game. I usually play through it several times a year. Next up is Zillion, and the cover, along with a lot of Master System games, doesn't really do the game justice. It's a fun Metroidvania style game. You got to go through and unlock keys and codes for every room. Just about to continue on. Use it to unlock and upgrade your powers and abilities, put in your jump and your health. But you can also rescue 2 other team members, and then you can switch between the 3 different characters. They all have different starting stats. Some of them jump higher, some of them have a better power for their shot. And like a good Metroid game, it has a countdown at the end of the game. So can you beat the timer? Can you make it out in time? Zillion clocks in at $15.23. The next and final game is Aerial Assault. Side-scrolling shooter or horizontal shooter. And there's about 4 levels. They're kind of long-ish. I haven't beat this one yet. There's also a Game Gear version that's different enough to, I think it's worth it to actually have them both. Your power-ups replace your previous weapon shot, and so you can hopefully get familiar with a certain kind of shot. There's like a 3-way, a 5-way, a missile that's a little bit heat-seeking. There's one that shoots out and explodes. Some really nice colors and parallaxing on some levels. And Aerial Assault clocks in at $10.20. A fun shooter and a great addition to any Master System collection, which I think all of these games are. The price for all of these was taken at the end of January 2023, and the grand total, if you were keeping up, is actually $101.16. And that total will change depending on when this video comes out and what all has happened with the market for the Master System stuff. An interesting thing is, so it's $101.16 loose. It's $217.52 if you got them complete. Now, Aerial Assault is the most expensive out of the group complete in box, but it's one of the cheaper in the loose. Complete, it's $97.76. With Koniden coming at $35.50 right behind it. Still, it's almost 3 times as expensive for Aerial Assault. Well, that's a good solid collection. You get a racer/driving sim, you get a puzzle game with Shanghai, you get a couple sports games with Rocky and Enduro Racer, because you get your boxing and you get your motorcycle racing. Koniden, you get a side-scrolling action game. Zillion, you get your Metroidvania, and Aerial Assault, you get a shooter. So you get a nice mix of games. $101.16. So the closest I could get to the $100 and sell a really solid selection of games. And if those were the only games you had for the Master System, for most people, they would be well pleased and happy with the collection and selection. Outside of, the RPGs are more expensive, unfortunately. That's the US list. I've got another video that'll be coming out with the PAL only list, and then some other consoles. But hope everyone has a good day. Everybody take care, have fun, be kind to one another, stay safe, keep it retro. God bless. Until next time. Next one up is Koniden. I'm not even sure what to say about this. Next up is Aerial Assault. It's a fun horizontal. Apparently it gives you gas. There's some nice colors, some nice parallaxing. Parallaxing? It's not right, is it? Scrolling on the screen. It's parallaxing.